Hi, a very good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on yet another live session by PRPOI. It's one of the award-winning and largest PR communities dedicated to upskilling all of us together. Today, I'm your host Pooja Trehan, and I'm delighted to welcome you for yet another Saturday Live. PRPOI, we at PRPOI, we're really thrilled of how all of us are coming together to create valuable and insightful conversations on PR and communication. I hope you are following us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Look up for our website prpoi.in, or just tune in to hear us on the podcast all about PR. We're going to be delving into a different aspect of the PR industry today, and it's all about entrepreneurship. But before I introduce the panel, I would like to take a moment to thank my curators and co founders, Tarunjit Ratan and Sonali Sokal. Now that we've done everything that you would expect at the beginning of a panel, let me get started to introduce you to the panelists. Um, I love all of them, no specific order. So here it goes. Uh, Kritika, the founder and CEO of Apostrophe Communications, headquartered in Delhi. Then we have Chavi Tang. Hi, Kritika. Good afternoon.
Hi Pooja, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much. Hi, Chavi Tang, the founder of Comsutra. Hey, Chavi. And we have Udita Datta, the founder of Artsmith. Hey,
Hi Pooja.
Udita. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, lovely ladies, for taking the time out. Although we began on a very happy note of how all of us love our rom com series and comedy and possibly happy things to read in life, we're going to be going a little different today. So, ladies, the first question, I really want to deep dive into it. And it's for all three of you. Please pick on the way you would like to answer. Let's address the elephant in the room. Have we got it wrong with the panel name when we're calling it women entrepreneurs? Over to you.
You
Odita, would you like to go in first?
okay? Look, had it been that all three of us women sitting here, including you, four of us, and it would have been three men in this screen, I don't think you would have said women entrepreneurs, right? You never say men entrepreneurs. So I think this is a very stereotype, and we entrepreneur is entrepreneur. There is no specification saying that there is a men entrepreneur or a women entrepreneur. So I think it's all absolutely. As I say it always, screw that whole concept. Sorry for my language, but I guess it is entrepreneur, and no woman is less than a man when it comes to business. We all need to do our P&L as the man needs to do it. So I think, yes, we can change it to just saying we are entrepreneurs.
But I feel like the answer is not that simple because when I heard that question, even I was wondering, have we got it wrong or not? While I agree with what Ulta is saying, but I feel like there's so much work that is left to be done. So I think that positioning it in a certain way probably helps us get a conversation going. The fact that we are calling it women entrepreneurs and then having the conversation, whether it is right or wrong, and hopefully I agree again, saying that we will reach there when it is entrepreneurs, because that point really rings a bell with me that we all have to do the P&L the same way. We all have to file our taxes in the same bracket or the same method, and there is no difference there. But it's not just that, it's about the mental conditioning maybe. And because of that, when you say woman entrepreneur, I think the understanding or the expectation is right there, that why is it being positioned like that. And of course, the ideal world scenario is that there is no gender when it comes to skills and profession. But currently, we are living in a world where there is. So, like I said, there's no straight answer to this question to my mind.
Kritika?
I more so agree with what Udita said. And when I read the questions earlier today, I thought like we don't call male entrepreneurs as male entrepreneurs. So why address this? And I just feel that, adding to what Udita and Chavi both said, that I mean, the more we confirm with the classification, the lesser it is normalized. So if we have to normalize the entire entrepreneurship basis skill set, just like a man does or a woman does, I think the classification needs to go to a certain extent, and the conversation needs to be had in a more normalized sect and a normalized tone than making it sound like we are a minority or we are an activist of some form or something like that. You know what I mean?
True. So, I mean, I can see how March is on everyone's minds. The first thing that we all got to talking about is how we all of us file our taxes just the way anyone else would. So, I like what's ruling our minds today. And what's also important is that women should actually be speaking a lot of numbers. So, thank you for setting the ball rolling on that perspective. But I hear you. What I really want to understand in your respective days, and when you're engaging with clients and teams, do all of you feel that this aggressive startup culture of do or die has actually made it far more difficult for us as entrepreneurs to manage that? Chavi, would you like to go in first?
Uh, I don't think so. It has made it difficult because, see, I feel like that naturally we are used to multitasking. Of course, startup, if you're working with startups and all, it comes with longer working hours and, a lot of adjustments at your end, which is difficult, definitely not easy. But so that has been the job or the demands of the job forever, I feel like. Even when I was working as a professional, when I was a journalist, and things like that. So I don't think so that aggressive culture has anything to do with it. It's about the lack of support that as colleagues or as professionals that we may face from time to time. That could make your everyday at work a little bit difficult, but nothing that we can't manage is what I feel. So I am okay because I am by nature also a very aggressive person. So maybe to me, I don't, yeah. So maybe to me, it doesn't really feel like, oh my God, it's like do or die. We won't die. We'll do it. That's the thing. So, that's the mindset I operate with, and that's the mindset my team operates with. They make me operate with that mindset. So, yeah, so I feel like I don't find it difficult really because we work with startups. So, yeah.
We'll do it mindset is far more better than anything else. But on that note, Kritika, I would like you to add, because you also work with various brands across lifestyle, design, decor, and these categories sometimes could be overwhelming, changing overnight, a lot of trends coming in. How do you manage that, and then at the same time ensure that for you and your team it's not difficult as an entrepreneur?
See, much like Chavi, I'm a aggressive person myself. It is sometimes a pro and a boon, but most quite often it's also a bane. And finding that balance is rather tricky, I'd say, because you have to go against your normal being, against your normal behavior. So, but you know what, Pooja? I mean, I feel like lifestyle, fashion, decor, art, all this comes naturally more to women than it does to men. So I've never felt like there's been a difference in the way we treat in this section, in this vertical, and in this genre of industry, at least, that men are treated differently or women are treated as a subservient sect or something like that. Thankfully, that's not happened to me. So my suggestion and my advice to my team members also is, and we are all women's team. So and that's not on purpose, just to be clear. So my advice to all of them is that you should just take it, give it a response as normally as humans you would, and have an empathetic stake as well, but also, like, say what is logical and divert from what is illogical or what is not doable, because the nature of PR as such is such that you are expected to be people who have magic wands in their hands, but that's not the truth. So I mean, you have to set the expectations right. You have to do a lot of conditioning in that sense, but not in terms of gender per se. So whether be it any industry, I just feel like it's more of a matter of how we deal with it as a situation rather than how would another gender deal with it.
Mm.
I'm grateful that you all are pretty vocal about this. And I'm also grateful to Tarunjit and Sonali for putting this panel out. Because for once, I can go out and say I'm not the only aggressive PR and comms person, professional in the field. We all have to don those hats. But on that note, Udita, I would want you to tell us, with sports being now, becoming the limelight of the country, literally in actual terms, does it get difficult to manage staff and the culture that you would like to build for your organization? Do you think it gets far more difficult for us in that role as entrepreneurs?
If the question is entrepreneur or like women entrepreneurs, is it difficult? So, like for me, it was easy because I had put in that effort of 17 years as a journalist covering sports. I don't see myself having that advantage if I would have come straight as a PR or a comms person into sports and trying to do something. Then I think I'm sure anybody in my place would have struggled. But I think that's where, coming from a background when we started, but when I was a journalist, it was definitely a question like, what is a woman doing in this world? And trust me, there were only three women back then who used to cover sports, and everybody would look to us as if we have come to like an aliens landed right there on the cricket ground or at the football pitch. Like, what are they doing here? What do they understand? Do they even know how the world functions in this space? So I think that's where one thing that I picked up, and I feel this whole conditioning, if it has to change, a lot of it is also about the fact that how much do we study, how much do we understand, and a lot of effort goes in. If you don't understand the subject and you try and do something, you will always face, oh, you are a woman, I can understand if you don't know. But I think that's where nobody kind of dares to tell me that, because I have done that study, and when I come and say something, they would listen. I guess that way I've been fortunate, but it wasn't that easy a step. Took me about, I think together I would say I've about 25 years now. But yeah, it's been a long haul for that.
Wow. And I absolutely can resonate with what you expressed, Udita. I mean, it gets, even today, it gets difficult for teams and people to accept gender equality on the field, whether women are working or playing, and on the other side. And yeah, I'm completely years out and resonate to what you say. But the minute you said something about conditioning, that caught me to the next question. Is there a generational conditioning that all of us need to get out? When we are told that uh, girls are supposed to be nice, we're not supposed to be bargaining for money, we're not supposed to be asking more for our skill set, we're just supposed to be doing good. Is that generational conditioning coming to an end? And I want all three of you to answer, but Kritika, could you deep dive into that first?
I definitely think so. I mean, luckily or exceptionally, I wasn't brought up in an environment where it was any different for a guy in my house versus a girl in my house. I mean, I was the first child, and I was always treated as the boy in the house, for that matter. Maybe I was tomboyish, maybe I was whatever I was, but then my entire family, including my grandfather, used to say, "Ye to ghar ka ladka hai." You know what I mean? Like, so when I had that sort of support system, when I had that sort of ecosystem around me, it never got to me. We used to, so I come from Jhansi, so it's a very small town. Now, back in the day, we used to just go out and play as kids. You don't see that today anymore, and more so in Delhi, you don't. So, I mean, when we used to play cricket also with the boys, it wasn't like, okay, fine. There was a little bit of a thing that because she's a girl, let's put her to fielding and let's not give her the bat. So, but then that also changed. I think these were the small little instances in my growing up years that made me confident and didn't shiver away the fact that, there is nothing that you can do as a woman. You can do everything. It wasn't gender based. It was all skill set based. So when I decided to start my career in communications, even then, I mean, my first job as an intern, I used to manage some pesticide and some sort of other sort of brands. I didn't enjoy that at all, which is why I moved to what I'm doing right now. But then, even at that point in time, whenever we had to travel, so it wasn't like girls are traveling differently or the boys in the team are traveling differently. Everyone took the public transport, everyone did whatever it was meant to be to do the job. So, gender hasn't luckily played that sort of distinguishing role in many cases for me. So I feel that maybe I'm lucky, but I also feel that today's generation, especially the Gen Z, come with a lot of privilege. They don't even understand what media rounds are. They don't even understand. I mean, if I question the 21-year-old in my team that where is HT City office, they won't even know that it's on Kasturba Gandhi Marg. You know what I mean? Like, but back in the day, I used to go to Rashtriya Sahara office somewhere down the line in Wazirabad in a bus, do all of that stuff. So that never deterred me. So being a woman hasn't been a deterrent in many cases for me, is what I'd like to say.
I like
May I
that, and I'm going to bookmark one of those questions. But I want Udita. Yes, Udita, I was going to come to
No,
you
I,
next.
I really resonate with Kritika when she says this because one is, like I think the difference of today's people and the hard grind that all of us have done is, um, we earned what we got. I mean, to be very honest, it took me a year to get my first byline when I was a journalist. So, today people get things very easily. Internet has made it even easier for the Gen Zs. So, I think that hard grind is not there. If I lose this job, doesn't matter. I'll get a job tomorrow at another place. So, I think that's a culture. I mean, there is always good and bad about this aspect of it, but I think somewhere we need to be humble, somewhere we need to be very very grateful with what we have and how best we can make things move from there. And hard work, that is something I think, you talked about being nice, but I think one thing that, grateful to my parents, again a very tomboyish upbringing I had, and the thing is, be grateful. You know your lines, you don't cross them, nobody needs to tell you that. I mean, you are very conscious, you need to be respectful to those lines, and the world is yours. And I think that's where a lot of women, I'm sure all of you will resonate, if we're aggressive not by choice because that's how we've been brought up,
Yeah.
but aggressiveness is termed as rude and intimidating by people because they just take it like, oh, this woman is too difficult to handle. I mean, why so? And
Yeah.
that's where I feel a lot of times clients feel that and try to kind of bounce that back to you that, oh, can I've seen that earlier in my days, but I think that's where we need to understand, if you're speaking your mind, that's not a bad thing. That should not be said that, oh, this lady is rude or I can't handle her. uh, at least have that thing to listen and accept what someone is saying. You may not agree, it's fine, but it's a conversation that you should be equally participating and not just saying that, okay, whatever I'm saying is correct and the rest of the world has to listen to me.
In reality, I mean, talent is talent and a leader is a leader. So, none of us or even the audience that's working with us should not be thinking the suggestions are coming from a female leader or a male leader. You know,
Yeah.
understand the in depth and gravity of that suggestion. But Chavi, I'd like you to also share your insight on this before I go on to the next question.
I have a slightly different angle to it. The mental conditioning and being good girls and humble and all of that. While I feel like these are good qualities to have, and I feel like all of us have it, gender, no gender, whatever. We all, whenever we are talking to whether media, whether client, whether anybody else, we don't outrightly come and say, you've got to listen to me because I know better. We never talk like this, none of us. And I feel like that, I agree with the panelists when they say that you should not be scared about speaking your mind, because the fact is that you've done so many years of work, and that automatically makes you an expert in the. See, you are not telling them how to run your business. Okay, that's their business to run. You are telling them what are the best com strategies they can use, which you bring to the table, and that's the reason they hired you in the first place, right? So clearly, you have something here. And I feel like that this whole thing about that it is coming to an end and all, which Yeah, even I agree. But there is now it's become even more subtle. Earlier it was on your face. Now there are certain, like I've heard from people, when especially women, when they go for job interviews in corporate or startup or whatever, they ask them, will you be able to travel? Will that be a problem? Why is that a question? So this is how it has become. So I think, and I quite like when I interact with a lot of Gen Zs, because I feel like they have a very clear idea in mind that if you cross that line with me, I'm not interested or I'm not motivated to work for you. So they want, whether they bring the knowledge or not, see, even they're aware, they learn with time, like we have. And of course, we've done the hard grind. They will probably do it the same way or slightly simplified. I don't know. But they know that, okay, I lack what I lack in knowledge, but I still want to be treated with a basic respect.
Yeah.
You, even if you are a Gen Z, like sometimes we ask the Gen Z's, like, what is your take on this particular product or launch, and what's the perspective? That's because we don't have that Gen Z perspective. you
True.
know they do bring something to the table, and they believe that I have to be sort of counted in for that. And I don't see it to be wrong. But yeah, this whole mental conditioning about always be good and don't bargain, absolutely disagree. I never understood it when I was little, not like I was made to understand it. But even today, more so, I feel like we have been proven right. If you are bringing something important to the table, you must ask the right price for it.
Right.
That's it.
True. So true. So true. I mean, the minute I hear the three of you, the only piece that runs in my head is Ted Lasso saying, be curious and not judgmental. That's the biggest mistake at times people make, whether be it not understanding the strength of a talent or gender, or even figuring out it's not really 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years behind you. It's how you're using all of that expertise that you've learned over a period of time and bringing that to the table. That curiosity is, I'm hoping all of us agree to it, that has been pushing us to a place where we all are today and understand our jobs better and guide leaders in a way.
And also,
Udita,
just to add to what you said, sorry,
yeah,
just
yeah,
to add to what you said, it's also about evolving, much like how Chavi said that, the Gen Z have a different way of functioning, or I love the way they are very clear of what they want. They, whether it is momentary, whether it is temporary, maybe they are not as long sighted as we'd imagine we would be at their age. But I don't think I was that long sighted either when I was 21 or 22. We
We
made
had
so
no
many
idea where we were going.
We had no
exactly.
sight actually.
But then at least we were very scared, because job for us was more like, this is the means to earn for your living. So the caution that we would take, or the disrespect also sometimes you take from your seniors or from your bosses or things like that, would be a little more submissive. So you'd be submissive in that sense, but they are not. But the thing is that without being rude, if they are able to communicate that, hey, this is not what works for me,
Yeah.
or why don't we do this, then I think this is a great evolution. And we must also evolve while we are not in that age bracket. So we, more or less, we can't think like that. But I feel like sometimes when they show us the mirror or tell us certain things, then you do get a thought that no, but they are of course right. So I think that sort of a thing is very important, and you cannot not do without them, because they bring in that pulse of the generation, which say all brands are trying to tap in and all com strategies need. So they're an inevitable part of the ecosystem. So we'd rather evolve and also make them learn through the process if we have to.
I'm glad, and I am superbly requesting and putting this out as well, that we should be, sharing snippets of how all of us have come together and are appreciating the Gen Z for the talent, the interest, the excitement, the enthusiasm that they bring to table. Because trust me, and a lot of times all of us say that it's so difficult to find fresh talent these days. And all that I hear is people sounding worried and unhappy about the fact that kids don't want to work or Gen Z doesn't want to contribute. But this piece of how they really fit in as a unique contribution to our organizations, to our industry, to our fraternity, it's fabulous when the three of you put that out loud. So kudos to you all, and I am hoping the Gen Z hears this and gets excited about what they're going to do next. But Udita, I want to go back to when you said that you moved and evolved. As Kritika said, it's about a journey of evolving. You moved from that journey to being a sports journalist and then coming into the communications field, and building trust and getting the clients to see the value that you bring to table. uh, how did you manage to navigate this ecosystem? Sometimes it does get tough, but I'd like you to, elaborate and what helped you the most at that time.
No, it does. Definitely. I mean, the whole idea of my starting my own agency is very interesting because when I was a journalist and I was contemplating, like, I think I need to move on and I've done enough in journalism and I don't have much to contribute anymore. So somebody said, you can try PR or Corpcom. And of course, that's not as big as it was back in the days, right? We were still in those traditional era. So few agencies we met and everybody was like, wow, this is so great, but you don't have PR experience, how do we marry this whole thing? And I was like, well, what I felt is that I will never be able to find a job if I quit being a journalist. So I thought, let me start something which at least I know as a subject, and rest I will learn in the process. And I think one of the thing that you said about whether it was difficult or easy, I think a lot of peership helped me. And I think that is important. And while we keep saying this, that a woman tries to look at another woman for help, um, that's amazing because we need to build and our community. But at the same time, there are a lot of men who played a very important role in my growing and coming to where I am today. So I think allyship is a very important thing for entrepreneurs, and we need to really try and understand and pass it on to our the people in our teams, in our companies, what is the importance of allyship. And that is something that made me going. I was just one person, came out, had no idea how communication works. I knew press releases, but that's about it. How to even draft it was an alien subject to me. And yeah, and then learned everything on the job, to be very honest to you. So I keep saying this, that you make as many mistakes you want in life, just don't repeat them, learn from them and make new mistakes. And that's the best way to become a entrepreneur. I think that's me. Whatever I have learned is from my mistakes.
I'm taking this lesson back. Huh? Continue making mistakes and keep learning from them. I'm not
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to
make new
stop.
mistakes every day.
Yeah,
I
and
feel
Udita, trust me, for a lot of agencies, writing press release is still an alien task today. So I'm just putting it out there. But while Udita was responding, Kritika and Chavi have got an audience question for the two of you. That's just come in as Udita was talking to us. How challenging has it been? Any time or every time the two of you would look at working with glamorous clients, does it glamorous brands rather? I mean, considering the industry change. Uh, have you two seen that difficulty coming in? Did it add further more layers of challenges there? I mean, anything.
okay. Is it okay if I go first?
Sure.
Okay. So, in terms of glamorous brands, like we worked with a lot of well-known D2C brands in beauty and fashion and, segments like that. So, I feel like in that particular business sector, by nature, the competition is very cutthroat. We have seen how beauty brands in India have emerged in the last few years and how big they have become, right? Whether it is an e-com platform like Nykaa having a blockbuster listing to, Sugar and Wow and all of these big brands. So the fact is that when a client who is probably, let's say, half their size in terms of business revenue, but they are competing for the same audience. And they come to you saying, I need to stand out in this crowded market. That in itself is a challenge. You are knowingly taking on that challenge. And so it does add a slightly one layer of complexity, because here, I would like to put it as a conveyor belt operation, because constantly something or the other needs to be written about, talked about. So I feel like, the craft of PR. We all do, our teams do. We know the art of it. The only thing is how, whichever one of us is able to put it out about their clients more consistently and frequently, probably ends up looking like a winner, because business numbers will finally decide who the winner is. But yeah, perception wise, that particular company may end up looking better than their competition. I hope that
Kritika?
answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes, sorry.
completely agree with what Chavi said. And I also feel like it's a game of consistency. So when we make our com strategy plans, it's never, even if it is a small player in the larger share pie, um, I think consistency has the largest role to play, number one. Number two, it's also about setting your immediate, then short term, and then your long term goals. It can be as simple as your monthly plans to your quarterly plans to your annual plan. Now, I feel that what the challenge here is not um, more on the strategy part of it, which is internally driven. It's more on matching with clients' expectations and how you manage their expectations. If the client needs a lot of education, it fairly feels like a more tiresome job to do than it actually is. Because other than doing your job, you're also educating the client and the client's team also. Because maybe the copcom person sitting at their side is not as well versed as you'd imagine they should be. But the truth of the matter is that more often than not, this happens. So, how you navigate that process is the challenge than about just how many press coverages or how many events. And then the novelty of events, then the treatment of the events is something that we as experts are supposed to do. So, I feel like the other side of challenge is that, and not more so on what you do as the end result of it.
Conclusively, it all boils down to talent and what you're bringing to table. I mean, your word needs to have that value when you're reaching out to or engaging with anybody.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, see, an average strategy. But it's funny because I don't know if this is the right platform to say this or not, but I'll risk it. Um, More often, what clients don't, what they settle for is average strategy, cheap price. So it then gets difficult to tell them or how to tell them that, it's not about whether you are paying a lakh of rupees or whether you are paying 2 lakh of rupees, or even if you are paying 25,000 more. So a lakh and 25 as your retainer. But the point here is that what you are getting on board. Uh, Bigger brands do understand that you'll get more manpower on board, more team players, more team resources, which is why you need to shell an extra buck. But homegrown brands more so want that sort of strategy input, want that sort of human resource input, but they don't have, if they are not funded and if they are bootstrapped, they don't want to dedicate so much funds, because also PR doesn't directly result in sales. So the ROI mechanism is lost in a lot of ways. So if you keep doing that, then, like, I tell my clients very openly, listen, let's not make very ambitious plans, because 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months down the line, 6 months will be your stop point where you'll start questioning that, hey, big talks, but what is actually happening and what have you been charging me for? So unless we make like conclusive plans or conclusive strategy which also keep the client happy and manage their expectations correctly, is the key, I feel.
Yeah.
I like how you make that the focus. Udita, you wanted to add something on that piece?
Yeah, I mean, just one more thing that I see with clients is, the entire plan is made. If you've dedicated all budgets to marketing, advertising, and so forth, maybe digital influencers. PR will be somewhere the last and the least most desired piece in that whole Excel sheet. So a lot of times I keep saying this to my clients is, see, end of the day, whatever you do, and if your credibility doesn't get built, I know it's sales, I know it's numbers, fine, but you will still come back saying, oh, mujhe wo nahi mil raha hai jo mujhe chahiye tha. Why am I not being called in the top 10 list, or top 20 list? It's just because you've not invested money in that space, and that's the last thing in your mindset. So PR needs to be part of the initial plan and not the final execution, where you say, okay, what am I doing in PR?
I
Yeah.
like that, and thank you for putting it out there. I mean, the minute brands, organizations, internal, external teams stop looking at PR and communications as the last leg of execution is when they see the change. And I've actually seen that, brands that get down to building teams internally and thinking from scratch along with the other teams, they've seen that benefit of corporate reputation, their brands being spoken much better. It's a sea change out there. But and Kritika, thank you for bringing up that point. This is the right platform, and I'm glad you did that. I'm going to change this conversation slightly, and I'm sure, please bring out all your pet peeves. I'm going to share one of them. Any channel or industry participation where we see a combination of both genders, male and female, and I'm going to put that out again. This is not a battle against anybody or any gender specifically, but I have seen, it's great, when doors are opened up for women, they're asked, or gratitude is extended, saying that, here's a chair for you first. But the minute the discussion starts on a panel, and if it's a combination of genders, the address goes first to male. And even post events, I've noticed that a lot of times. The gratitude and thank you messages and posts come out for male leaders first. I mean, is this just me noticing such a minute detail, or have the three of you also gone through this situationship ever? Jump in.
Isn't
Udita?
it more
Sorry, Kritika.
alphabetical?
Yes.
Isn't it more alphabetical?
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, great
it's
if you've
kind
seen
of,
that. Yeah.
it's sometimes alphabetical, it's sometimes in order of seniority, or it's sometimes in order of the flow of the event that you are at. So, or maybe I've missed this, but this is not something that I've like evidently come across so as to have a viewpoint on this.
No, actually, when Pooja was like breaking it down, is when it actually hit me that maybe, but yeah, I swear, I mean, I haven't really like thought about it in that way. Interesting observation, but I feel like, how's that of any consequence? Like if I'm on a panel and there are two or three uh, entrepreneurs with me, could be of any gender if they identify with one. It's not a problem really if they want to maybe look at it this way. Maybe that other panelist probably made a far more logical point than I did, so I think automatically the moderator was drawn towards it. That could also be the reason. So I'm saying there are different ways through which probably we can look at it, and not just that why it happens because of gender is what I feel. Uh, but yeah, if you've noticed it, then must have happened. I will start noticing it, I think.
Udita?
Yeah, I mean, I had this very similar thing. I think I never noticed it per se like that. And anyway, if it is alphabetical, I'm the last one whose name will come up. So I've been conditioned that my name comes at the end, any case, either ways. Um, but no, but it's an interesting point. Probably I'll be more consciously looking at this aspect next time. But yeah, agree with Kritika and Javi both that haven't had something like this coming across my way so far.
Okay, I'm glad I'm the minority here, and if that's not happening, it's wonderful. But and you see, my letters P, so I don't understand. They're following the flow of the event or alphabetically. But we'll leave it to, as you say, universe pe chhod diya jayega is par. Uh, as we were discussing, audience questions are popping in. I'd like to pick up one. There's this constant question that's coming up where they're asking all three of you, why did you choose the route of entrepreneurship? Why? Uh, Odita, would you like to start? I mean, we know you've explained it, but yeah.
No, I think my dad stopped talking to me for a month when I decided to quit my job and start doing what I'm doing right now. But I think what I felt was, see, I'm going to put 24 hours any case, right? Whether I work for someone or I'm going to work for myself. Um, I thought that doing something for myself the way I want to do it. So I think for me it was purpose driven. I was doing cricket 24/7. Traveling world was easy for me, but I wasn't happy because I wanted to do Olympic sports. And when I started this company in 2011, nobody used to even talk about Olympic sports. We had just about done a Commonwealth Games in 2010, but it was still a very hard sell. So I think for me to answer that is, it is purpose driven, and if I say no to something, I am responsible. So it's a choice I made. And yeah, I mean, and it was something I was doing for myself. I think these three are primarily the key reasons why do what I do and how I started.
Thanks, Udita. Chavi?
See, my dive into entrepreneurship, I think, was organic, is how I would like to look at it. I was a business journalist right from the start of my career. After my degree, I worked with Economic Times and then with CNBC, and that gave me a like that really made me who I am, honestly, because to understand large businesses, report on them, break stories on them, the speed at which we move in a newsroom, it was all very thrilling until it wasn't. Because I mean, every day, yeah, I'm breaking a story, and that gives me, that makes me feel good that, I have beaten everybody else and I got a scoop and like whatever. But beyond a point, so the days when you don't have an exclusive, you are questioning, am I good enough? What is something wrong with me, So I feel like that cycle is not good, because we all know that we are good enough. Not every day can be your day, right? And while I was obviously doing other things and continuing with my work, I started to see a lot of people who were CEOs, etc., etc. They were also kind of guiding me and telling me that this is around 2011, 2012, that how startups in India is becoming extremely big, and there is going to be no stopping them in a couple of years, and they need somebody who can handhold them. And that's where the germ started to sort of manifest in my head. And that's when, in 2013 is when I started, and my journey has been pretty much similar to Udita. When I started, it was just me, doing everything. And then, when the growth started happening, you start building a team, culture, accountability. And see, we've not born as a boss ladies or whatever, right? We've learned it on the job, exactly what Udita said. I also haven't worked in PR. I straight came from journalism, you know so I did learn a lot on the job. I did learn how to be a leader. I did learn how to manage client expectations, and at the same time also ensure my team is motivated to deliver on those things that we have agreed with. And so yeah, it's a constant learning journey, and I'm so glad that I was advised by some really important people in my life. Shout out to my husband for that, who really explained it all to me and told me, and actually made me feel that confident, you're ready for this and you can do it, so don't be nervous about it. And I think I just took a plunge, mainly on his confidence and 70% on my skills.
I like that. Plunge on skills is what I'm going to
Sure,
take back. But
I'll just
Kritika, I
add to
would
that.
like you to. Yes, Udita?
Yeah, Udita, you were saying something?
No, no, just saying that, when I was quitting, so my boss asked me, so which channel are you joining? You know, so when I said that, no, I'm quitting and I'm going to start something of my own, he looked at me with like some 10 minutes of silence, and I could see the question mark. So I told him that, see, I'm going out. If I fail, I'll come back. Just give me a job. So he was like, okay. So that was pretty much the takeaway. And thankfully, I didn't have to go back.
We are
I'm
glad
glad
that
of
you
that.
haven't gone back.
We are good to have you on this side.
Yes.
Likewise, amazing to hear your stories, man. This is so incredible.
I
Kritika,
think
your point of view?
I think mine was a just like an itch that you have. तो मेरे अंदर ना शुरू से बहुत खुजली है, so I can't settle for quick fixes. So if I can, I mean, sorry for the language, but then that's how it's been. Like, I had a great job. I was working with a Swiss luxury watch brand, and I had like flexi hours. I was paid very well. I used to travel to Switzerland twice a year. I used to travel to Singapore once a year. I had a team to manage. I was managing pan India communications. Everything was great. But then when I came back home, I didn't feel productive enough. Neither did I feel like happily content, because, like, I'd always been on the agency side of it. So just managing one brand, and managing one brand with an international mandate, so to say, with limited amount of budgets, with only those many sort of guidelines, with too many guidelines and only that much flexibility, or a like a horizon to play with. So the play field was limited. It didn't make me very happy. I did it for 2.5, 3 years almost. It was a great growth curve for my personal career, and also it laid a good foundation. I started Apostrophe, but when I started Apostrophe, I started it taking baby steps. I just started as a freelance person, and then when I figured that, okay, after 3 brands is not something I can manage individually, I had a person join. I've been living in Delhi on my own, so I mean, it started as a corner room office with another colleague, and then step by step we've taken it today to where we are. So and even now, there are some days where you don't feel that excited. So I'm like, this excitement is not cool. What should we do to not to make sure that we feel excited or productive enough at the end of the day? But like how Chavi said, not every day is your day. That is true, but sometimes this silence is very concerning. Like now, for that matter, with the year end here, the marketing budgets have come to a freeze. There is not too many things that are happening. So I mean, I'm constantly a person who will, I'm a big hustler, so I want action every single day of my life. So I think that was the itch that made me do this as a start of to my career.
May the power be with us every time we want to keep hustling rather, and never go out of that hustler mode at all. But the audience has actually asked a very interesting question. Do you think, I mean, we did appreciate the hard work and the talent or unique perspective that Gen Zs bring to table. But do you think the Gen Zs are far more tuned to understand or follow a male leader versus, being biased or not understanding if it's a woman leader and how she brings a perspective? Is gender equality as clear in their minds as the other pieces? Chavi, would you like to deep dive into this first?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think they do have that. Like, so I used to have a Gen Z in my team, and if she would like come to me with something that she's prepared, it could be a presentation, it could be a content, anything, and I would tell her, you missed this, you missed that part, and etc., etc. And she would actually be very grateful that you are actually making the time and sitting down with somebody who's junior most in your team and explaining her where am I going wrong or right. And even if on days where I said it, oh no, you got to do this all again because it's not the brief I gave you, or anything like that, I feel like she's the only person who actually understood and has said this to me, that if it was a guy who was giving me the same feedback, everybody would be like, wow, he's so focused, he knows it. And most people would misunderstand you for giving this feedback. So I'm grateful that you are the one giving me this feedback, because that teaches me a lot. That teaches me that when it is about work, when you are in a position where you know more than me, you're more experienced than me, the gender becomes a blur. It doesn't matter. So she's like, I just hope that more people get to understand this, because even when, let's say, you are being harsh with your feedback, because I am not known to be a sweet talker. So she's like, it's great to hear, because at least you are helping me grow and you're helping me becoming better, rather than telling me, it's okay, leave it, Mindy, and I'll finish it now. Because then that person is not learning anything. I want you to go back and do another draft and come back to me till you get the draft at least 90% right. That's the benchmark. Because rest 10% you will learn with time. We also did. We made mistakes too. I mean, I've made so many mistakes, but and continue to. So, but at least get it 90% right if you want an okay from me. So I feel like Gen Z's come, in my experience so far, and I've had limited one, I get it. But I really like their focus, their commitment to the work that is assigned to them. And they really do give their best, I feel.
Udita, have you seen a different perspective or similar lines?
I had limited, honestly, limited interaction when it comes to that from the company perspective. But I think one of the thing that, like Chabi said, if you give them some work and if they understand the communication brief is straight, if they understand it, they execute it well. I think the space where some Gen Zs and even we need to evolve and probably work more is when the brief is not clear, because the client has given you a white field not specifying things, and we need to do a release or a communication maybe, but we just don't know where we need to arrive or land upon. And that's where comes the hard work of researching, thinking. I think that's the space where I still see a little bit of a gray area. And if you push too hard, then it is like my boss is being hard on me. So that's, I personally feel that's still a challenge with me today, because it's that balance needs to be created, but it's still a work in progress.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice way to put it out there. Work in progress. Kritika, but would you like to chip in? I mean, considering when you said the brands, the clients that you handle, sometimes the pace with them can get really, too tough, too fast, changes very often. How has your experience been with Gen Z understanding that pace?
See, since I am their boss and all other team members are also females, I don't think they have anyone else to go to but me. So they don't really have a choice. So now, if they've thought of this and that is not something that I have known, then maybe that is one case. The other way to look at it could also be, what I have figured is it's more about, not about, more so about the brief, but also about their interests. Now, in the verticals that we delve in, it's like fashion, food, hospitality, decor, art, interiors design. So somebody might like food and nightlife more than fashion. So if you give them a project or a client which they are feeling better with, or they like it more, then in that case their results and their approach is more careful, more meticulous, and they are more interested in doing that. And when you give them that sort of task, then they will do it to the T, is what I have noticed. And as far as the gender bit goes, I feel like this is the audience which is in and out every single day. They are absorbing more content on gender equality and gender fluidity. So their bias in their head could not be so strong. This is my personal opinion. This is my personal inference of it. Because as I said, I've not had to experience something like this, so I cannot really say like Chavi did. But there is no male counterpart in my team. तो वो जाएंगे भी तो किसके पास? So that is what it has been. And like largely in the lifestyle industry, if in the PR lifestyle industry, it's more women. It's more women leaders, women team members. So um, I could imagine thinking that this is also related to do with the industry per se, and therefore the experience could be different to what Udita and Chavi might have had.
Interesting. There are audience questions that are just flowing in. We're going to leave them for all three of you to go back and respond to them over the weekend. But there are two of them that I'm going to pick, and I will need a quick round from all three of you. Uh, uh, Top two suggestions that you have for any entrepreneur setting up their business in 2024. Udita, I'd like you to go first.
Um, just just don't stop from experimenting. Just go all out. If this is a world of experiment, you really don't know what really will work. So just if you have an idea, just chase it. Go for it until you've been said no, nothing is not yes. So I think these two are my mantra, and I think uh, whether it is 24 or maybe 10 years from now, this will just be the starting blocks for anybody to do anything they want to do in life.
Wow, that's a fabulous takeaway. Kritika?
I think be lean in terms of your structure. That is the first. I think pandemic taught us the hard way around, but even so, after that, a lot of us, I think most of us have tried to adopt to hybrid structures. If it is working from home, so then I think first is be lean, and then the second one would be exploratory. So, I mean, if you have an idea, just go all out for it as much as what Udita said.
That's nice. Kavi, over to you.
I feel like if you have an idea, and I'm sure as a person who is starting out in 2024, you have vetted it and seen it, if there is a market for it, etc., etc. So if those basics have been done, then yes, give it your all. Have a vision around where are you taking this idea and how big you want to make it, and when you do make it, what sort of a culture you will be building in your company. I feel like that's very important for anybody who's starting today. It may sound like a conversation to be had 1,000 days after the operations in the business, but I feel like this needs to be in your head from day one. What is it that I'm building? Because my approach is a little bit more tactical, but whatever you do, wherever you land up finally, do not lose that humane aspect from your business, from your strategy, from your approach, from the stakeholders that you engage with. Do not lose that perspective. And if you don't, I have no doubt in my mind that you will do well.
Wonderful. It's been
You know,
it's been
one more thing. I feel like resilience has also got a very important role to
a
play,
role to play.
because
Yeah.
while we've addressed the good part of the Gen Z audience that we have in our teams, the one part that is missing is longing for quick gains and being less resilient. So the moment there are many bumps, they try to give in or they try to give up. So I feel like that is something that that generation entirely used to is need. They need to work on it, because that's not something that is I mean, they're coming from a space of a lot of privilege and a lot of options and a lot of diversity that they are offered like all around them. So it's not their fault too, but I just feel like if they build it as a innate sort of thing in them, then I mean, then given the talent that they have, there's no stopping.
It's wonderful how we managed to break the glass ceiling within the first panel itself, saying that it's not women entrepreneurs or male entrepreneurs; it's just going to be entrepreneurs. And beautifully, all of us just transformed the whole conversation from that whole stereotype to understanding how various generations can work together. I mean, while the three of you were talking, I genuinely and it was a privilege to talk to the three of you, get completely different perspectives, and yet feel that all of us are agreeing and resonating and are on the same path. So that gorgeous uh, feeling of being together and building beautiful brands and stories comes in very rarely. I mean, when you ladies were talking, it was the CMD of Nestle. He said it in one of his interviews. He mentioned about three eyes, and for the love of God, I'm not able to remember the third one. He spoke about ibadat, insaniyat, and one more eye, and he said that's what really builds us as better leaders. So have that compassion, have
Inayat, if I'm not wrong.
ibadat,
Inayat,
inayat,
Ibadat.
yes.
Yes.
I think
Inayat
so.
and Insaniyat. See, we're all different perspectives, but all together. I thank you so much, ladies. It's been wonderful speaking to you. I'm taking back a lot of takeaways, and it's been a learning journey. Just this 1 hour. We hope to see many more pieces and nuggets from all three of you building wonderful brands and stories out there. Thank you for bringing the power to the table. Thank you, Udita. Thank you, Kritika. Thank you, Chavi.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you
Bye
soon.
bye.
So thank you so much, everybody, and for joining us today. I hope it was indeed an insightful conversation for you, just as all of us enjoyed putting this together and having a conversation. Take some time out, spend going back to the comment section, leave a question if you have any doubts. Special thanks to my co-founders Tarunjeet and Sonali Sokal, and extremely grateful for three panelists once again, Udita, Kritika, and Chavi, for taking the time out on a Saturday afternoon, coming here and sharing these insightful pieces for you to take away and learn on your journey. Don't forget, that's the focus that PRPOI has been built on. Upskill yourself, upskill the community, and that's how our ecosystem will grow. We will see you at the next session next month. Until then, let's talk, engage, and learn together. Keep upskilling. Good afternoon.